If there's one thing that keeps MAGA together like glue, it's the belief that Trump is here to save us from the deep state, a shadowy cabal of technocratic billionaires who aim to control us all and take away our precious guns. Not Trump or Peter Thiel, not those billionaires, of course. Well, maybe them too, because Trump's tapping of Palantir to create a nationwide database on all Americans has MAGA's freest thinkers asking, was MAGA a giant psyop? Is Trump the same man he was in 2016, or did I just not see it back then? There's a lot of things you dolts don't see. Folks, you could set your clock to the rate that these MAGA morons are finding out that they've been duped. A couple months ago, it was because they were getting fired from their government jobs, and now it's because Trump is inching closer to his very own communist China-style surveillance state. The Second Amendment ammo-sexuals are livid, the MAGA truthers are literally losing their minds. I mean, the entire Trump coalition is in shambles. If you like this kind of coverage that the mainstream media isn't going to show you, then you can support us by subscribing and dropping a blue heart below. Beast Gohan of Truth says, MAGA is not just a psyop, it also stands for spell. MAGA equals magic in Latin. Literally, this was a way of brainwashing over millions of people. Sister Wendy says, that's what opened my eyes big time. MAGA is literally a cult now. Listen, I'm not judging anybody's path to the truth, but if they're calling MAGA a cult, who am I to disagree? I just want to continue with the MAGA reaction because it is so good, but then we'll jump into why these guys are so riled up about Palunteer. The Patriot Voice, who has a large following and OG truther in America First in his bio, says, Trump has tapped Palantir to create an entire database of all American citizens. It brings me no pleasure to inform you that Donald Trump is actively working with the very same deep state he claimed he would obliterate to create the largest surveillance database of Americans ever created. MAGA, if you are observing this from afar and holding on to any semblance of hope that Trump is who he said he was, sadly, it's time to wake up to a brutal realization. Oh no, they're going woke. Trump is constructing a new world order, just as I unfortunately suspected over the last couple of months since his inauguration, and this news confirms that. Like, it's so funny. Like, this is the reaction that you're supposed to have, the correct reaction to this kind of news. But the irony is, these guys are the ones who voted for this draconian nonsense. Like, look at this post from someone called 9mm SMG, so that should tell you something. I mean, this news really has the libertarian side of the Trump coalition spooked. If Trump moves forward with the plan to hire Palantir, he should be impeached. I say this as someone who has supported him for a decade. It's enough not to make me want to return to America. And all I can say to this is, congratulations, buddy, you fell for it again. And the reason why these guys aren't jumping for joy right now, labeling this as the government tracking down and making a database on, like, I don't know, trans and gay people or something, is because they know that it's not just going to be liberals who are tracked. Here's Alex Karp talking about what the company has managed to do in Europe. And mind you, Palantir was created in 2003 with early investment from the CIA's InQtel program. So, you know, about as deep state as it gets.
Look, we built PG, which single-handedly stopped the rise of the far right in Europe. We built Foundry, which was used to distribute the COVID vaccine and saved millions of lives globally. We built what we call multi-constellation, and what's often called the digital kill chain. And they're category-defining products. So when you deliver these products to the market, just honestly, people say this isn't going to exist, this isn't valuable, but then it changes the market. And then the market is the Palantir market. Now, that doesn't mean everyone in the world is going to buy our product, but it means most of the sensible people in the world are going to buy from the category we define.
So what is Palantir? What is Foundry? What are all of these products? Well, it's essentially a data aggregation and processing company. Essentially, it's putting together certain separate databases and compiling it in such a way that tracking individuals is actually possible. This was in connection to Elon's role in Doge. The waste, fraud, and abuse thing was mostly just gumming up the works, and what did he end up saving, like $5 million or something tiny? The real damage and the danger comes from Elon's efforts to create a master database.
It's something that we sort of just, I think, haven't really gotten our heads around it yet. And it relates to Doge and Elon Musk and what he's done in Washington. But it's the sort of black box at the center of whatever he has been doing in Washington. The one thing they are consistently doing and doing as aggressively as possible, and they haven't given us an explanation for why they're doing it, is that they are aggregating data. It is a huge data grab from what appears to be every agency in the government. And that really appears to be their only consistent priority, the only thing they are consistently and aggressively doing everywhere they insert themselves. What is that about? Why are they doing that? This is from investigative journalist Julia Engwin, who has reported on data privacy and security for years. She's writing in the New York Times today. She says, quote, Doge is assembling a sprawling domestic surveillance system for the Trump administration, the likes of which we have never seen in the United States. Over the past 100 days, Doge teams have grabbed personal data about U.S. residents from dozens of federal databases and are reportedly merging it all into a master database. This month, House Democratic lawmakers reported that a whistleblower had come forward to reveal that the master database will combine data from federal agencies, including Social Security, the IRS, and the Department of Health and Human Services. The whistleblower also alleged that Doge workers are filling backpacks with multiple laptops, each one loaded with purloined agency data. What this amounts to is a stunningly fast reversal of our long history of siloing government data to prevent its misuse. In their first 100 days, Musk and Trump have knocked down the barriers that were intended to prevent them from creating dossiers on every U.S. resident. Now they seem to be building a defining feature of many authoritarian regimes, comprehensive files on everyone, so they can punish those who protest. A longtime civil liberties lawyer tells Ms. Engwin for the Times today, quote, this is what we were always scared of. The infrastructure for turnkey totalitarianism is there for an administration willing to break the law.
Now, what's the Musk-Palantir connection? Well, Palantir's selection as a chief vendor for the project was driven by Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, according to the government officials. At least 3 Doge members formerly worked at Palantir, while 2 others had worked at companies funded by Peter Thiel, an investor and a founder of Palantir, another one of the techno-autocrat billionaires trying to destroy America. And Alex Karp, the CEO of Palantir, is like a Batman supervillain. His attitude toward using his products for evil is almost pathological. We've already seen the implementation of this, not only with Musk's Doge, but also with the mass deportation efforts from Trump. On a call with investors earlier this week, Palantir CEO Alex Karp, fresh off a week of stock surges, was euphoric. "We're doing it," he yelled, arms spread wide, "and I'm sure you're enjoying this as much as I am." The "it" in question? It seemed to be a reference to enabling Donald Trump's administration to carry out mass deportation and police surveillance domestically, while aiding the West globally. Actions that, on occasion, Karp said on the call, may involve the need to kill. "I'm very happy to have you along for the journey," the CEO said. "We are crushing it. We are dedicating our company to the service of the West and the United States of America, and we're super proud of the role we play, especially in places we can't talk about. Palantir is here to disrupt," he continued, "and when it's necessary, to scare our enemies and, on occasion, kill them." This man is like literally trying to invent Skynet and is just being out in the open about it. First they came for the government workers, then they came for immigrants, and now they're coming for all Americans. Here's the headline from the New York Times. Trump taps Palantir to compile data on Americans. The Trump administration has expanded Palantir's work with the government, spreading the company's technology, which could easily merge data on Americans throughout agencies. In March, President Trump signed an executive order calling for the federal government to share data across agencies, raising questions over whether he might compile a master list of personal information on Americans that could give him untold surveillance power. Trump had not publicly talked about the efforts since, but behind the scenes, officials have quietly put technological building blocks into place to enable his plan. In particular, they have turned to one company, Palantir, the data analysis and technology firm. In March, President Trump signed an executive order calling for the federal government to share data across agencies, raising questions over whether he might compile a master list of personal information on Americans that could give him untold surveillance power. Mr. Trump had not publicly talked about the efforts since, but behind the scenes, officials have quietly put technological building blocks into place to enable his plan. In particular, they have turned to one company, Palantir, the data analysis and technology firm. The Trump administration has expanded Palantir's work across the federal government in recent months. The company has received more than $113 million in federal government spending since Trump took office, according to public records, including additional funds from existing contracts as well as new contracts with the Department of Homeland Security and the Pentagon. This does not include a $795 million contract that the Department of Defense awarded to the company last week. Representatives from Palantir are also speaking to at least two other agencies, the Social Security Administration and the IRS, about buying its technology, according to 6 government officials and Palantir employees with knowledge of the discussion. The push has put a key Palantir product called Foundry into at least 4 federal agencies, including DHS and the Health and Human Services Department. Widely adopting Foundry, which organizes and analyzes data, paves the way for Mr. Trump to easily merge information from different agencies, the government official said. Creating detailed portraits of Americans based on government data is not just a pipe dream. The Trump administration has already sought access to hundreds of data points on citizens and others throughout government databases, including their bank account numbers, the amount of their student debts, their medical claims, and any disability status. The goal of uniting data on Americans has been quietly discussed by Palantir engineers, employees said, adding that they were worried about collecting so much sensitive information in one place. The company's security practices are only as good as the people using them, they said. They characterized some Doge employees as sloppy on security, such as not following protocols and how personal devices were used. Ms. Shia said Palantir employees were increasingly worried about reputational damage to the company because of its work with the Trump administration. There was growing debate within the company about its federal contracts, she said. Current employees are discussing the implications of their work and raising questions internally, she said, adding that some employees have left after disagreements over the company's work with the Trump administration. Last week, a Palantir strategist, Brianna Catherine Martin, posted on LinkedIn that she was departing the company because of its expanded work with ICE. For most of my time here, I have found the way that Palantir grappled with the weight of our capabilities to be refreshing, transparent, and conscionable, she wrote. This has changed for me over the past few months. For me, this is a red line that I won't redraw. And the scary part is that after this news broke, it was actually bullish for Palantir's stock. The stock market liked what it saw. Palantir's shares jumped 5.38% after the announcement and are now trading over 150% higher compared to post-election 2024 levels. But behind the stock surge, there's a deeper story about privacy, AI surveillance, and what it means when one tech firm gets the keys to America's data. Creating a Big Brother-style mass surveillance state might be bad for freedom, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, but it's great for gaining stockholder value. And deep state MAGA warriors are drawing a line here, with some turning their back on Trump. If even the cockroaches are starting to scatter, you know something awful is coming. I'm Tony Hinderman with Really American, and I'll catch you next time.